Okay, this is activity for 4.6. Today we're going to be working with identifying our slope and intercepts of an equation and then actually writing equations from that. In the past, we've been given the equation and graphed it out. Now we're going to do the reversal in this lesson. So here, just a review from previous part of this chapter is we would go through and identify our slope. So our slope was always the number that was attached to the x. So here our slope would be negative 1/4. And our y-intercept was where it would cross our y-line, which was always the back of the equation. So here our y-intercept was -7. Okay, so that's just reviewing the different parts of our slope-intercept equation. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and work off of some lines to write an equation similar to that negative 1/4 x minus 7. So this is in your practice journal. Okay, so we're going to go through and identify our y-intercept and our slope of the lines. We're then going to write an equation for the line. And we're also going to point out some things that are unique about each of those lines. So if I were to start, and I'm just going to label these A, B, C, D. So we'll say this is A, B, C. Okay, so my slope and my y-intercept. So where does it cross my y line, which is where I always like to start. So if I start on letter A, it's crossing at +4. So that's my y-intercept. My slope, when I pick my slope, I'm going to find where my line is crossing through the corner of those boxes. So obviously where it crosses the y line, and then if I follow this line up, I can see that it's crossing here. So now I'm going to do my rise and my run. So I see that this is a positive slope because it's going up from left to right. My rise is 1, my run is 2. So rise over 1 would be 1/2. If we were to then make this into an equation, well, we're going to go ahead and write it out as 1/2 x plus 4. So here's our equation, y equals 1/2 x plus 4. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and continue to do that concept. So here it crosses my y line. Line B crosses at +1. And my rise is 1. My run is 2. So 1/2 x plus 1 is my equation. Y equals 1/2 x plus 1. So take note, there are two pieces that we pull out of our line, and that's our slope and our y-intercept. Okay, so the last one, well, it crosses our line here. And here I'm going to go through and actually pick a different point just to prove that our slope should still be the same. So if I were to follow this up, let's say I didn't notice this first point, but I noticed it crossed here. I can still count my slope off of that. So you'll notice, first of all, it crosses our y line at, this is not marked, it's at -2. So that's my y-intercept. And if I check my slope, my rise is 2. My run is 4. So 2/4 would be the same as 1/2. So 1/2 and x, because that was my slope. So my equation for line C is y equals 1/2 x minus 2. So that's working with pulling our y-intercept and our slope and understanding how to then put the two together to create that equation. We're used to having the equation and writing or graphing out the line. Now they're giving us the line and asking us to write the equation. What do we notice is unique about each of these equations? So if we were to compare all of them, what do we notice is the same in all of them? Right here, the slope is the same in this situation. So here, and this should be a review from a previous chapter, when we have parallel lines, all of those lines had the same slope. Remember, we would identify lines that were parallel by finding ones that had the same slope. So here we have parallel lines, and we notice in our equation, the slope is the same in each of them. Okay, so let's go ahead and try another one. This time we're gonna work with some intersecting lines. So I should erase all my stuff here. Oops. All right, so here's our next one. Okay, so we have identify the y-intercept and the slope of the lines. We're also going to write our equation, and then we're going to look at our equations to see what is the same in all of our equations. So I'm going to label these, and you may not do yours in the same order, and that's okay. But I'm going to go ahead and mark them as, we'll do A, B, and C. Okay, so my A line is this line that's going all the way across. No, I do not have to count them as two separate. That's it, one full line going all the way across. Okay, so for A, let's look at our y-intercept. So our y-intercept on our A is crossing right at, well, that's 0. So we've got a plus 0 here. Okay, and now we're going to go through and do our slope. So we're going to pick 2 points on that line that cross a corner. So if I follow this line, and it doesn't matter what direction I say it crosses there, or I could continue to the right and see that it crosses there. Okay, so it doesn't matter which ones I'm counting between, but we're going to pick 2 points on the line. So I'm going to go ahead and look at this first of all. It's a positive slope because it's going up from left to right. My rise is 1. My run is 1, 2, 3. So my slope is 1 over 3, and I just put an x behind my slope. So I've got y equals 1/3 x plus 0. That is usually going to just be written like this. If it has a plus 0, it's just inferred that your y-intercept is going to be 0. So usually when you see it, if they're asking you to graph it, you're not going to see that plus 0 on the end. You have to infer that or understand that you would just have a y-intercept of 0. Okay, so for B, well, first thing I want to point out is this is going down from left to right, so I know it's going to be a negative slope, so I'm going to put that because that's usually what I forget to do is put my negative on my slope. Y-intercept is 0, so plus 0. And my rise and my run, so if I follow this out, I see it's crossing at a corner there. So my rise is 1, my run is 1, and we already said it was negative. So negative 1 over 1 is the same as negative 1 x plus 0. It will probably always be written like this, y equals negative 1x. And I forgot to put my y in front of this one. Okay. And for my letter C, once again, my y-intercept is 0. All right, so if I find 2 points, so it crosses there. If I follow this up, it crosses here. So my rise is 2 over 1, and that's positive because it's going up from left to right. So 2 over 1 is the same as 2x plus 0. Probably going to always be written like this, y equals 2x. Okay, so now if I look and I compare these intersecting lines all had the same y-intercept of 0. So it may, if it crosses at a different number, that's okay. Here it just happened to cross at 0, and that's what was similar between each of these. Okay, so that's it for the first part of this activity. Check out the next video to see how we're going to work with when we've got a polygon within our coordinate plane.